Welcome, all you Earth Animals, to Ask Our Vet Live from the Earth Animal Studios. I am Dr. Chris, your host. I want to welcome everybody, all our loyal viewers back, and certainly a warm welcome as well to anybody new to the program. We have a special episode today with special guests. So I would like to welcome to the program again. We've been trying to do this with Dr. Bob and Susan, the co-founders of Earth Animal. For anybody that does not know, we've been trying to do a show about a quarter with them to bring them on because it's always a great show with a lot of insight. So I want to welcome Dr. Bob and Susan. How are you guys?
Very
Good,
well.
Chris.
Thanks very much, Chris.
Yeah, good, doing good.
And now we're over 40 years now since you both co-founded Earth Animal. And as we say, you spent your careers working to improve, preserve, and enhance the quality of life of animals, people, and the earth. That's why, we're all earth animals, right? So yeah. Thank you guys very much for being here today. I think
our pleasure.
One of the things that, kind of off the top, what I wanted to start with is a key area of concern, certainly for everyone at Earth Animal, always, but especially at this moment in time, is the use of conventional flea and tick medications, many of which contain synthetic chemicals whose safety have been questioned. So we thought we'd talk about that a little bit today and talk about another way for people to protect their furry family members against fleas and ticks. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to read this quote to start our conversation today. And I'm going to read it. So this is on June 15th, 2022. The Congressional House Subcommittee on Oversight and Reform released a report detailing its 16-month investigation into the safety of the Seresto flea and tick collar. The report shows that in 2016, Canada's Pest Management Regulatory Agency, which is the equivalent of our EPA, concluded that Seresto collar posed too great a risk to animals and humans to be safe for use. The report also indicates that the EPA agreed with these underlying findings and analysis and recommended that to protect pets from further harm, Elanco should institute a voluntary recall of the Seresto collar until a comprehensive safety testing can be completed. So that is a fact. That's a verbatim quote. And so that's, something that, the background, Earth Animal has taken a holistic and integrative approach to pet health for over 40 years. So obviously a quote like that for us is alarming, correct? And so I thought today we'd talk about, we'd speak on the use of conventional meds. And think also, just like I said, talk about the Earth Animal products and talk about how you developed long ago a alternate way, another way of protecting our animals. So let's start talking a little bit about, Bob, can you guys just give us just the background on, as background in Earth Animal and the role, in creating these alternate methods, years ago to protect the pets, and what the principle behind it is.
Sure.
Well, many years ago, Susan and I were in the Army, and we were in the group of veterinarians that tested, the new flea collar at that point. And I was really firsthand visit of watching these animals be exposed to organic phosphates. And I saw the effect of that. And early in our career, we made a decision at that point that using the animal's body as a delivery system of a potential toxin or insecticide was just not fitting well with my oath as a veterinarian to cause no harm. So basically, that's the way we began. And between the 70s and 80s, we developed, natural approaches. And I would say, and I'll let, Susan was obviously the founder of the company, but I would say as a holistic veterinarian, one of the pillars of a holistic veterinarian is that if you can prevent something, you don't have to treat it. Obviously, the way the medicine is set up, the Western medicine is set up, you wait for the disease to develop and then you treat it. From a holistic perspective, if you can prevent it, you don't have to treat it. And that's the approach that we've taken. So I'll turn it over to Susan.
It's interesting because back in the 70s and 80s, the flea colors were derived from nerve gas, which is exactly what we use in war to kill one another. And that we had an experience with the chimpanzee at the Army Center, and we watched this beautiful being be poisoned, and it left an indelible mark. Mm-hmm. And be careful what you wish for. I just wanted to save her, and we were up against the United States Army. But what really was going on is we kept a watch. We just kept a watch after that, and we did notice that we were seeing younger animals with liver and kidney issues, and and a lot of skin allergies, and what should be normally healthy animals. And when we did our own investigative work in our veterinary practice, our own personal veterinary practice, we did find that most of these animals had something in common, and they were wearing these collars. So the light bulb went on for us, and it was at that point that we embarked on another way of dealing with fleas and ticks, a kinder, gentler way. I do feel that families have choices, and we have a choice to go to the earth for our dog or cats, meds, or we can go to a chemical plant. It's as simple as that. And that's basically been our philosophy with all of the products and the messaging, which aligns with Earth Animals products.
Well, I think, I came into veterinary medicine, graduated vet school in the middle of the 90s, and a lot of those still original flea and tick medications were still being used, those basic organophosphate flea and tick medications. And the reactions, the neurologic reactions that you would see back then, it was shocking, coming into that, just to see a cat, that came in that was seizing and just neurologic because of just someone bought a flea and tick protection in the store and just put it on, and the severe reaction, it was and frequent. We saw a lot of those reactions back then, and I imagine it was even worse earlier on.
No, it was terrible, absolutely terrible. But
actually, the products have not gotten any better. We haven't gotten any lighter, and in fact, Bob will comment. They're stronger. We're up against the super tick and the super flea, very much like the cockroach. The story about the cockroach. We've used all these insecticides and pesticides in our homes, and that cockroach will live through a nuclear war, whether or not that's true or not. But I often think about that. And you really have a feeling, a very strong feeling about the strength and how strong these bugs and insects have to be to sustain.
Well, initially, after organic phosphates, were taken off and the newer insecticides and neurotoxins were brought in, initially they started with a single neurotoxin or a single insecticide. And what happened is that as these fleas and ticks got stronger, the manufacturers were now forced to put 2 of them or 3 of them together. And unfortunately, what happens is the synergistic effect of these chemical insecticides cause more havoc on the liver and kidney and the detoxification organs of the body. So because of the super flea and the super tick, the poor animals are now exposed to a myriad of chemicals that, when they work together, really have bad adverse effects. They kill the flea and tick, but they slowly are causing numerous health issues for the dog and cat, which is really against holistic medicine. And holistic medicine, as I said before, the focus is prevention and not have to treat it. And using a chemical to treat it is really running into a lot of problems with, sickly animals and animals dying.
Well, and what most conventional most conventional flea and tick medications are neurotoxic, right? And the way that they work, like you said, is they're placed on or in the animal, and through that they're meant to hyper stimulate the parasite's nervous systems to repel and kill them, right? But it passes some way through the animal. And it's like you said, Susan. I mean, if you're starting to stack them, we obviously these things over time, you get new products coming out because you start to hear and you start to see that some of the products that were already out are no longer being effective. To your point of create, they just brush them off and say, we've been exposed to this long enough. Now we can handle this. What's next? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right on. Right on.
And so, it is again, for us, our duty to offer another way, a safer alternative. And as over the years, I practice I'm a veterinarian, still practicing, and practice as integrative. And this is always, I have to stop and say, thank the two of you for, putting the light bulb on me several years ago, where I could, really, when you and I were working on cases, and really practice integrative, because I love that approach. And I love being able, I think our job is to educate people and say, this is what's available. And here's the positives of this, here, there's drawbacks of this, and people can make their own decisions. But I do think that we're educators in our position, and it's our duty to educate people as much as possible about what they're putting on or in their companion animals.
Absolutely.
Well, we thank you for having an open mind. We needed a friend when we were pioneering, and you were the friend.
Well, no, thank you. And I mean, I think once you start to look at this, and as whether you're a lay person or you're a veterinarian or just anybody, once you start to look at this and really lay it out, I think it can be very powerful what you find. And I think it's important, and you guys have done an amazing job, both through the company and on your own, of educating people and showing people that, again, there is another way.
And giving those people the choice to take a step back and decide whether or not they want to go the chemical route or the prevention route. I think that's really our job, to do that, and let the people make their own choice. It's their animal. They're living with the animal, and just let them do, whatever they feel comfortable that's best for their own animal.
Right. And also there can be a middle road too, as far as a reducitarian, where they can look at it and say, okay, I've been on this. Maybe we can integrate this from a veterinarian standpoint, and even, traditional veterinarians that are using a lot of the conventional meds. Mm-hmm. There also are a lot of animals that are currently going unprotected. We know that many of these meds you can definitively not use in epileptics per se. So let's say, so those animals, it's that becomes a no-brainer. We don't want anybody unprotected, especially where we live up in the East Coast, right? I mean, you don't want, so there's a myriad of animals that are out there that are currently unprotected that absolutely should be really looking into the natural approach. They really should. And I think not only everybody, but especially the animals that are unprotected.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
So let's talk about nature's protection. I just, and the principle, it really is, as we've talked about, it is people do look for simplicity with products, of course. People, I realize people lead busy lives, and they want simplicity in their products. And this really is a simplistic, it's a two-step program. It's a simplistic two-step program. So can you tell me a little bit about that and the principles behind that?
Sure. It is a two-step program. It's inside out. It's real easy. We have the earth animal herbal powder, which the animal ingests on a daily basis into his or her food. And then we have the flea collar, which it's just amazing. And that works from the outside. And it's very synergistic. Herbs are amazing. They're kind, they're gentle, they are effective if administered properly. No side effects whatsoever. Whereas drugs and chemicals and pesticides and insecticides, they cause side effects, and in some cases they can kill an animal.
Yeah.
That is sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that is for sure. And basically, back in the early '80s when we developed this, there was, a general consensus on the holistic side that simply adding brewer's yeast and garlic to the animal's diet was gonna do it. And basically, what we did is we did our initial research back in the early '80s, and based upon knowing that there are some people who go to a picnic and they get attacked by mosquitoes. There are other people who go there and the mosquitoes don't like them. So trying to create an environment for the animal that repels fleas and ticks is really what we went after. So we put together a number of synergistic natural ingredients that worked on the inside, be it changing the biochemistry of the blood, the odor of the animal, and came up with a yeast base and an herbal base, and that was the inside. And then if you take care of it on the inside, and then you layer on top of that an external flea collar that has repelling qualities, then the combination of both gives you the best chance of protecting that animal from the bite of a flea.
Right. I'll tell you a quick little anecdote. I had about a month ago, I had a bulldog come into my practice with our Nature's Protection collar on. And I remarked, and I've owned bulldogs. Anybody who has bulldogs knows in the summer when they heat up, they tend to throw off quite an odor, right? They are, and I remarked to him, I said, not only are you protecting your animal against fleas and ticks, but he smells the best he's ever smelled in his life. Right? So it was, and they laughed. They're like, I know, he smells wonderful now. And I said, yeah. So it's a side benefit, it's another side benefit, the scent. Yeah. But yeah, I tell this story too. When we were talking about it before, when I first did get out of school and getting back to the chemicals, spot-ons were just kind of starting to come into the market. And you would place it on the shoulder blades behind the pet, people didn't really know how to use them, everything, and it was up to the vet. So I was placing them on animals for people, and multiple times a day. And I noticed that we were out in the summer, and I was with my family, and if we would go on a hike, or all of a sudden people would find ticks on themselves, or we were outside and the mosquitoes were biting everybody, I was never getting bit by anything. And I said, I had to step back and say, wait a minute, maybe I should not be handling this all day, every day. It's nice not to get bit by mosquitoes, but again, probably not a good thing. So
I totally agree.
Yeah, I think it's with people. It's one of the things. Oftentimes, people come to me and they say, "Well, how does when you take if you use a natural product and you take a natural approach, how does it work compared? What are the percentages on how it works compared to some of these chemicals?" And my answer simply is, oftentimes you can't reach the exact percentage of these chemicals because they are very high. But at what cost? That's the thing that I come to. At what cost? And we have very good percentages as far as repelling fleas and ticks with our products. I think exceptional, really, with natural products. And I think it also takes, again, I tell people, when you're out for a hike with your animal, when you come back for a hike, you always tick check yourself, right? Always. Well, you want to do the same with your animals. You want to do the same thing because they are out there. Ticks are hardy, and I think this does a very good job at repelling them, but you always have to be hypervigilant, especially if you're in these endemic areas where there's a lot of ticks.
Absolutely. And even the instructions on our, on the spray is that when you go out, spray between the paws and on the ventral abdomen, because that's where fleas and ticks are going to jump on. Right. And if you can prevent it right there, when they come in, just check the animal over and just make sure there's nothing on it. If it is, just grab it and throw it in the toilet and you're done.
That's right.
That's really all you need to do.
And I use this.
Excuse me. Every animal is an individual with individual immune systems and their own defense mechanisms. I mean, believe it or not, I know families that say, I swear, Susan, my dogs don't get fleas or ticks. And I say, keep on doing your program.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
change a thing. But
Right.
then you have the animals that are just infested. And I think that's a wake-up call. I think that tells us, the veterinary community and the family, you really need to go after this in a big way, and not just with an organic and safe approach for fleas and ticks, but your whole consciousness has to change. It's about vitamins. It's about proper diet. It's about a whole way, a whole lifestyle.
Right.
But it's a warning. It's a warning if you're dealing with this kind of an issue, and a lot of families are. The other thing that I think is really important, Chris, I asked you the other day, our practice took care, it was mostly a cancer practice, and we treated cancer nutritionally. And I asked you, is it still epidemic? And you said, yes, it is. I think a lot about the use of insecticides with regards to cancer. There are triggers which we cannot tackle, and then there are triggers which we can eliminate. And certainly the use of insecticides and pesticides. There's so many ingredients which are carcinogenic. And I think that's just one way, cross it off the list. And it feels oh so good to get a grip in any way you can when it comes to cancer prevention.
Yeah. And I would just add that, when I was really in practice, when I was getting the number of calls you get every day, a lot of people would call and say, listen, I love your approach. I love the preventive approach, but my animal has fleas right now. What do I do? There's absolutely nothing wrong with giving that animal a one-time flea bath to kill all the fleas that are on it, and then start the prevention program. So using good sense, get rid of the fleas up front, and then start a build-up program and try to get the animal's body to where they're preventing fleas. But there's nothing wrong with giving 1 or 2 baths up front, get rid of everything. In fact, I've had animals that come in where the entire house was infested. So bombing that house internally, giving the animal a flea to decrease or eliminate the flea population, and then starting a build-up program to get that animal to where it should be is great. And I also had a number of animals that were on a neurotoxin. And they said, can I use this preventive program with my animal that's on a neurotoxin? And I said, the way to do that is to use both together. Get onto the natural program, continue with your preventive chemical program, and then once the animal is stabilized and free of fleas and ticks, begin to wean down and eventually get off of the chemical. So there's a way to do it. You shouldn't do it black and white, one day on this and one day on the other. Give the animal's body a chance and get rid of that flea and tick population.
Well, and that's the beauty of this this product and these natural products, is that you can add them. They have no adverse effects to add them into any other program to start. They just don't. And it's nice to have that option. Susan, I wanted to go back to what you were saying about immune system. I think that's something that, when I talk to my clients, and when we talk on Ask Our Vet, it's one of my biggest my mantras is that every animal is an individual. They truly are. So when someone says to me, what food is good for my pet, I said, that's an hour-long conversation between the two of us now, and it's not, and it's about, because there no two pugs are the same. No two dogs are the same, depending on any underlying conditions, depending on age, so it is interesting. I will tell you too, when, having their immune systems right, and having their, as Bob and I always talk about, feeding them a good quality food with supplements, and having their GI system, their gut biome in check. That's 75% of their immune system right there. So even things like that benefit them when it comes to, I can't tell you how many times I'll have multiple animals in from a household. Say you'll have their 3-year-old sporting breed, and they'll have maybe, they'll come in with, their geriatric pet that may have some kidney issues or things, and you see fleas on that pet, and there's not a single flea or flea dirt on the other animal. It's repeatable. It's repeatable.
Absolutely.
Parasites do go towards the more challenged people and pets. They do.
Yep. They pick up that odor a sickly animal or an immune compromised animal, and they'll go right for it.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing. Bob, it's good because Melanie had asked about that exact approach. Melanie said, "What's the holistic approach for my animal? My 3 cats, for example, who already have fleas." And that you answered that already. That question just came in. So
yeah, with the cat, if you can't give a bath, then obviously get a low quality flea spray. Spray it on a washcloth, rub it on the body, rub it in between the toes, kill everything that's there, comb that animal out, and then start them on the natural program. And if it comes back 2 weeks later and there's still fleas, do it again. There's nothing wrong with using chemicals sparingly to get yourself into a stable position and then work on the immune system while you're doing that.
And I would recommend supporting the immune system if you have to use a chemical. I would work with some vitamin C, ester C. It's buffered, good for the tummy. I would use Earth Animals Immune Boost, which these are herbs which protect the immune system while you're going through the chemical program. And then you can detoxify. There are also homeopathics for detoxification. So if you've had to use use a drug or an insecticide or a pesticide, or if your animal has been over vaccinated, etc., you can detoxify using homeopathics. There's one called Thuja, and it works really well by helping to minimize the side effects.
Yeah.
So there's a warrior approach.
right, and so you can mitigate effects of what you have to do.
Absolutely.
And getting back to the, when I have an animal that comes in and has fleas, we always talk about you have the pyramid, and the tip of it is the pet, that the animal that has the fleas on it, but the bottom of it is the house, right, Bob? The key is, when I went to a really interesting lecture a few years ago with a veterinarian from Kansas State who really was dedicating a lot of his life to just looking at how we can deal with infestations in the house, and had some amazing camera work and show her. But it's what he said was, after the initial thing, it's all about in the house, which is the husbandry of the house, sheets and hot water and vacuuming every day and vacuuming the surfaces. And you need to do that concurrently for days and days, because you don't want that infestation, because any animal, it doesn't matter what they're using for flea and tick control. If their environment is overloaded with parasites, they're going to be getting them back on them, no matter what they're using.
Yeah, as the eggs hatch, they're going to get more and more and more. So you're absolutely right. So we used, obviously back in the 80s, diatomaceous earth was one of the ones that we used in the environment, and that scratches the surface of the flea and actually kills them that way,
Right.
A non-chemical way. So there's numerous ones, and we have one, in the, a powder in the Earth Animal Nature's Protection that can do the same on the animal without having the side effects.
Right. Let's see. We have a couple of questions. You answered Melanie's, which was great. So here's Jennifer had a question. She said, "Has nature's protection evolved over the years with the changes in our environment, etc.?" I have an answer to that. If you'd like to, you can.
No, I think you and I are working on all the improvements that we're doing. So you can go for it. That's good. You know it very well.
No. So I think, look, we are a natural company that likes to be backed by science, right? That's our goal, derived from nature, backed by science. And so we never rest thinking, innovation is always part of it. And that's simply what we're doing. We are doing university-based studies on our flea and tick products. We have some exciting developments that are coming. So no, we absolutely, Jennifer, are upwards and onwards, and continue to try to improve on a really good product. So we're look not too far down the road. Keep an eye out. We'll let you know.
We have some very exciting things coming. So
Yes.
We're constantly doing that to expand the line and take advantage of the newer technologies as it becomes available. So, we are evolving always, to protect those animals from fleas, ticks, and other things.
Well, and I think you have to, again, it's not only, as you said, are they potentially stronger in the environment, but I think what I'm seeing in my clinic with climate change, and we don't get these really crisp seasons anymore, and I don't think we're getting a lot of the die off of the ticks that we used to get when we had these kind of colder, harsh winters. We've had some fairly mild winters, and I've had the seasons are growing for parasites now. Certainly are expanding. I've had on my own, on other people's, I've seen dead middle of the winter ticks on animals. So it's not the same that it used to be, for sure. This is really, I recommend a year-round approach, especially naturally now.
Absolutely. If it's a natural approach, you can do it year-round without the inherent side effects of chemicals. So you're working on the immune system. There's a whole bunch of antioxidants in programs like this. So you're really doing good for the animal while protecting them from fleas and ticks, as compared to using a chemical which has the potential side effects.
Right. All right. Debbie was looking for flea and tick meds for her 10-year-old lab. You got them right here. Nature's Protection, Debbie. So
really,
go on, go to your local independent pet retailer, or look on earthanimal.com, and they're right there. All right, let's see.
Yeah, I'm seeing some,
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, I forgot to tease it at the top of the show, but I just want to let everybody who's viewing know that we're going to pick a random viewer towards the end here to receive one of each of the entire line of Nature's Protection. So thank you for hanging in and watching. Any other stuff, anything? I think we covered most of the bases here, guys. I think anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I think that, I think the important thing about this is not for us to sit back and make things wrong. It's really to give people the information that they need to do what they feel is best for their animal, to arm them with knowledge that they can use to best take care of that animal and, quote, do no harm. So basically, that's the basis for our flea and tick control program.
And I keep thinking about so many pet parents along the way who get messages from their intuition. It's there for a purpose. I've talked with so many folks who have said, I just had this awful feeling that I shouldn't be doing this, but I didn't know what else to do. Yeah. And I always say, listen to your inner voice. It's there for a reason, and it's oftentimes right on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, thank you very much for being on the show today. This was great. I think, I always love to have you guys on and sit and talk with you, because I truly thank you for all the knowledge that you have brought to everybody, and especially me in this arena. I always love to talk to you guys. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
And
Chris.
if obviously we have a customer service group that if anybody has specific questions, they can get it through the customer service to us, and we'll be happy to answer that. But I think that the most important thing is education for the people, and let them take a step back and make a choice that they feel is best for their animals. Obviously, we're all hearing about the potential side effects of chemicals. So there's, the knowledge is there. It's up to the people to take a step back and make a choice what they feel is best for their own animal.
Great. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
Great, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you tuning in. I'm not sure that Eric, I'm sure, has picked a random viewer, so we'll let you know that you've won, and we'll get your information. We will be back in August with another Ask Our Vet, Ask Me Anything. So please look for the date through our social media. I hope everybody is having a great summer. I hope you have a great weekend. The weather's been really good, a little hot, but pretty good here. It's always great to have Dr. Bob and Susan on. Their knowledge base is amazing in this arena. And it really is, to me, about just educating yourself about all the different forms and making a decision on what you think is best for your individual companion animals. So thank you, everybody, very much for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Thanks.